All right, Ben Leber made some news this week. He is a former linebacker for the Chargers, Vikings, and Rams. And then after the Chargers, Vikings, and Rams, he got into some broadcasting, KFAN in broadcaster. I think that's still the Vikings flagship, also host of an unrestricted podcast. And when you're a player and you move into broadcasting, you always have a certain amount of legitimacy because you're behind the rope. And guys like me have sources, but I'm not in those rooms. So you come out with a Kirk Cousins story, which, by the way, I had reported at the end of the season. I said, I hear Zimmer and Cousins had a really chilly year. So I had a source inside kind of the ecosystem of the Vikings. And I'm not Jay Glazer here. I'm not breaking stories every day. I'm an opinionist. But I've been doing this for long enough. I got people around the league. And then you report it. And hell, when you report it, it's all over the news. So did you think to yourself, okay, I didn't think it was going to become this?
That's exactly what I thought. I threw out a comment, about their relationship, and it just didn't seem like it was ever the way I thought a head coach and a quarterback should interact. And it wasn't new news. We've been talking about that locally now here for really probably the last 2 seasons. I think it really came to a head during training camp when Kirk and others, and that's the thing, there are others on the team that decided not to get vaccinated, but it was like Kirk was being singled out. You could see the disdain that Zimmer had towards the situation. And then we hear reports that Kirk had to go to Zim during the season and say, hey, let's meet. We've never done that before. Let's have a weekly meeting. Let's just talk ball. We're not going to talk about personal lives. You don't have to be my best friend. Let's just talk ball. I want to hear from a defensive genius about what we're doing offensively, because they had a green new offensive coordinator, right? So we hear all that, and just like you start putting the pieces together after a couple of years and a couple seasons, and it just didn't seem like Zim liked the guy at all. So I make a very benign comment, talk about how the defense, now maybe the word crap was a little bit of a strong term, but the defense the last couple of years, look, it's not Zim's fault, but it wasn't very good. It just frankly wasn't very good. So I make those very innocent comments, and all of a sudden it's being picked up by a lot of different places. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, this is news that we talk about every day here at the Fan.
Well, you're a former player. You're in the room. You're observant. You're bright, obviously. My people say you're a very talented guy. So, that I always say, Mamba mentality, the late Kobe Bryant used to always say, they don't hate the good players, they hate the great one. Embrace the hate. I would also say that about embrace when you make news, because if you didn't have validity in your community, then nobody would listen to you. So when players feel like they get in hot water, my takeaway is, no, bro, that's because you got information and people respect what you're saying. And what's interesting about this, Ben, and I've talked about this in the last year. Belichick struggled with Brady at the end. Pete Carroll struggled. Mike Zimmer struggled. Brian Flores struggled with his quarterback. And my theory is, culturally, we have a change, Ben, in the NFL. The game is now so offensive leaning. Quarterbacks are making like Real Madrid LeBron money.
Yeah.
They have more power in the league. Guys now are demanding to get out, Stafford, and getting the jobs they want, and they want to be respected more. And Kirk Cousins deserves some respect. He's a darn good quarterback. And I think a lot of these defensive guys, Belichick, Carroll, Flores, Zimmer, Fangio, they are struggling with a bit of the cultural change and significant of the other side of the ball. And that's Ben, I could be off my rocker.
Yeah.
But it's weird. All these quarterback issues feel like they're defensive coaches' quarterback issues.
Yeah, I can understand how you could draw that conclusion. And let me just say this for the record, I had some comments, which, why do you read comments? But it was as if I had something against Mike Zimmer. I have nothing against Mike Zimmer. The reasons why the defense wasn't very good is not because of Mike Zimmer. Actually, he probably saved them from being the absolute worst in the league. There was a lot of issues. There were injuries everywhere. guys just didn't perform to their level that we expected them to. So let me just put it out. Those comments had nothing to do with Mike Zimmer, because I'm embracing the attention, but I also value relationships, and I don't want it to be out there that there was ever anything with Mike Zimmer and I. So to go back to your observation though about defensive head coaches and quarterbacks, I can only say this about Kirk Cousins. We get it. We get that Kirk is a dork. I mean, the thing that I appreciate about him though is he embraces it. He embraces the fact that he's a little nerdy, he's a little dorky, he can be a little stale at times, but you have to respect the fact that he's a really good quarterback. I mean, he makes throws every game that even the critics would have to look at themselves and say, that was a hell of a throw. Like that was a big boy throw. That was an NFL type of throw. I think a lot of these defensive head coaches are looking for personality. They're looking for Brett Favre's. Those guys don't exist in every draft. They don't exist everywhere, but they have this idea that we have to have this dog as our quarterback. We could care less about maybe the acumen and how well they can throw, because as a defensive head coach, I trust our defense. I'm trusting our guys to win us games. So hand the ball off, make some play action throws, be a great guy, locker room guy that is like that Brett Favre type of guy. I think that they just want too much. That's not the way personalities are built. And he's one of those guys he's a little dorky.
You know, a guy who's not dorky but has issues I've criticized is Aaron Rodgers. Now, I have the Vikings winning the division this year because I do think with a new offensive coach from the McVay system, Kirk will feel supported. I said it on the air this week. Any of us had a boss that we thought didn't trust us, it would affect performance. It'd be in your head. And I thought in big games last year, there were times it was in Kirk's head, who, by the way, we don't know if he'll ever be a great big game quarterback. But I thought the last 2 years, it really got in his head. And I do think Zimmer's part of that, and I like Zimmer too. But now he gets an offensive guy. Their personnel's great. The running back, tight ends, receivers, their O-line's better. They got an edge rusher I like. They're going to be fine. They're going to score points. I don't think the division's as good. But I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers because I'm seen as kind of anti-Aaron Rodgers guy, which I'm not. First ballot Hall of Famer, unbelievable. My knock has always been he's got a trust issue. I've seen it from family to receivers. He's not a foxhole guy. Great with a lead, but I always thought Matt Stafford better behind. Is that there's certain guys in this sport, they are freaking foxhole guys. Matt Stafford is a foxhole guy. Joey Burrow, you can see. And then there's our guys, they're pretty. Good with a lead. Don't think they're there for me if things go. And that's always been my knock on Aaron Rodgers. And there is some data, Ben, that suggests I'm not that wrong. So I'm not an Aaron Rodgers. I'm a critic, but I don't have disdain for him. That said, Vikings have played him well. Mm-hmm. Kirk's played him well. I think they've got better personnel this year than Green Bay. Am I nuts?
No, I don't think that you're nuts at all. And I think that you look at the way it's going to shape out playing those guys this year. We open the season with Green Bay, and what a great opportunity when they lose Devontae Adams. You know, they all think that Christian Watson is going to be the guy, but can you expect him to have a Justin Jefferson type of rookie year? I don't think so. You know,
no
moving
way.
From North Dakota State to Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers and the NFC and the NFL, my money's on the fact that he's not going to be a Justin Jefferson type of receiver in year one. That being said, what do they really have? I mean, obviously they're going to test us with the run game, which the Vikings run game has not been very good the last couple of years. I think that's going to be better. But, you know, Za'Darius is here. He'll give us a little intel. I mean, I think that's also one of those things where a lot of media says like, oh, they have so-and-so. They're going to get the breakdown during the week. I've seen some breakdowns of former players that used to be on other teams. They're terrible. They're awful. You know, they're no better than the scouting report that we get anyway from the coaches and the advanced scouts. So I just think that there's familiarity with them that is advantageous to the Vikings. And I agree that for the most part, you look across the board, they're every bit as talented. I think that they're going to be up and running as an offense quicker than their receiver core and their offense is going to be with Aaron Rodgers, even though they've been in the system a little bit longer. So when it comes to just who's going to win the NFC North, I'm really bullish on how the Vikings look. And it's crazy to say that with a new head coach that's never done it.